Howdy, y'all. How you going? We're looking at something in history here, something kind of interesting that I didn't know anything about. Expect to learn a lot today. We're looking at the demise of Australia's biggest theme park. This was called Wonderland, Sydney. This would be a great video for comments. Want to tell me anything that we don't learn here that you want to add? Maybe some memories of this place, and ultimately, I'd love to find out how it was in its heyday and why it eventually failed, right? Before we even start, this is, of course, from an excellent channel, it looks like, called Defunct Land. So make sure to check them out. This will be linked in the description down below. So you can watch this whole video uninterrupted as we're not looking at the whole thing. And of course, browse their channel. And this was a Discord suggestion from Lithgo11 I have here. So thank you very much. Always great suggestions from you. And one more thing before we get started, I want to look at where this is at. Wonderland, Sydney was in Eastern Creek, New South Wales. Okay, and if we zoom in, this is what it pulls up on the map. This was right in the hustle and bustle, it looks like. Totally part of Sydney. Correction, this is not it. Google Maps for the fail again. That is like a bar or something. That's not what we want. Let's at least look at Eastern Creek. Okay, so Eastern Creek, New South Wales is over here. So it was somewhere in here. I'm not really sure where, but I mean, look at the places we have here, like Sydney Dragway, Sydney Motorsports Park, really cool. I wonder where the actual park, the amusement park rather was. Not sure. Anyway, let's go back to the video.
Taft Broadcasting was going down under.
Welcome to Australia.
In 1983, Sydney, Australia was home to over 3 million people. Despite a wide array of entertainment options and a thriving art scene, the city
That's a lot, even back then. Sydney's always been pretty big, sounds like.
only had one notable amusement park named the Harbourside Amusement Park. The park had opened under the name Luna Park in 1935, where it had operated for over 40 years. After a tragic ride fire in 1979, the park was closed and mostly demolished, with some of its attractions being sent to the small Magic Kingdom Park just south of Sydney. Luna Park's ownership was changed, and the park, now missing most of its signature features and attractions, reopened in 1982 as Harbourside Amusement Park. Local developers took notice of the controversy and instability of the park and began to consider building an all-new theme park for Sydney. As luck would have it, an American company with years of experience in the theme park industry was already looking to expand internationally. Taft Broadcasting's choice to expand its parks to Australia was far from random. Hanna-Barbera had created a studio in Sydney in 1972, and Taft would operate the Australian division
I didn't know that.
of CIC Video, a VHS distributor. Due to this, the children of Australia had a familiarity and appreciation for the Hanna-Barbera characters.
Gotcha.
And after conducting a thorough market research examination on Sydney, Taft was confident that a theme park would work well in the area. The park cost an estimated $65 million to build, which was down from early projections of $75 million. Taft wanted the park to be smaller than its American counterparts, and they expected to rely on locals rather than tourists to populate the park. Some locals were concerned over Americanization of the area, especially after hearing that the park was to be the biggest in the Southern Hemisphere.
Okay, so in that context, you got to help me out with certain things here. So, yeah, obviously, interesting business decision that they wouldn't want it to be as big as some of the biggest American parks. My guess would be simply because it's going to be mostly locals driven. Of course, they might get some international tourists here and there, because Sydney is a very famous international city, right? But it's going to be mostly locals, and even though Sydney's big, you know, I guess the whole country as a whole doesn't have nearly as many people, and it's not like out of the 3 million people in the Sydney area, it's not like a lot of those people are going to go, you know, every other day to this park, right? It might be a once-a-month thing, it might be a once-a-year thing. I guess my question is more along with what he said in the second part there. Locals were concerned about the Americanization of this park. What does that exactly mean? I mean, if they're using the Hanna-Barbera characters and stuff, that's cool, right? Because they have a studio or whatever in Sydney, so it has somewhat of a local connection there. Lots of Aussie kids and children were already familiar with those kind of characters since the 70s, and this is now in the 80s. I guess I'm just not really sure what that means, Americanization of the park. If someone wants to weigh in on that.
The result, however, was hard to scoff at.
There's a world I'd like to live in.
These old commercials.
A world I'd like to see, where there's too much fun for everyone. Wouldn't it be wonderful, walking hand in hand? Wouldn't it
Whoa, those were weird looking rides. Ooh. Open every day of the school holidays.
The park,
Australia's
named
Wonderland.
Australia's
That's nice.
Wonderland, officially opened on December 7th, 1985.
Okay.
The park's management predicted 1.6 million guests would visit the park each year, despite its limited operating schedule. The park would be open only on weekends and during school and national holidays. It would also be closed from mid-May to early August, Australians' winter months due to its location in the southern hemisphere. When guests first walked through the gates of Australia's Wonderland in 1985, they were greeted with three major lands within the park: Medieval Fair, Hanna-Barbera Land, and Gold Rush. While these lands did contain classic amusement rides, the park emphasized its live entertainment, boasting 23 different stage shows and characters unique to each land that would interact with guests. Medieval Fair was themed to the mythical Middle Ages. The land gave guests themed attractions such as a bumper car ride named the Jousting Ring, the Spinning Sea Demon, and the looping starship Bounty's Revenge. Guests experiencing the latter would often forget to empty their pockets before riding, resulting in hundreds of dollars worth of coins falling to the lake below, and in one bizarre situation, a cigarette lighter falling onto the queue's roof and exploding. Fortunately, no one was injured. Hanna-Barbera Land featured beloved characters from the cartoon studio, as well as rides and attractions based upon their respective shows.
Cool.
These included Judy's Jetliners, Huckleberry Hound's Merry-Go-Round, Old McScrappy's Golf Farm, Fred Flintstone's Splashdown, and the Celebrity Night Gala Show, featuring some of the more popular characters.
That's fun.
This land also had a children's wooden roller coaster, the Beastie, which was half the size and height of Wonderland's premier attraction, the Bush Beast, located in the Gold Rush section of the park. This section included attractions such as Funnel Web, the Skyhawk, Ned Kelly's Getaway, and the river raft ride Snowy River Rampage.
Love it. I love how that section of the park is all like straight up Australian, right? Look at the names: Funnel Web, Bush Beast, Ned Kelly's, whatever they said. That's pretty cool.
The Bush Beast was the main
draw
of
of the area. That would be fun for me to see. And
it was themed as the sister to Kings Island's popular wooden coaster, the Beast. The Bush Beast reached speeds of up to 56 miles per hour and heights of 90 feet, and it was the tallest wooden roller coaster in the southern hemisphere at the time of its opening.
That's impressive.
Wonderland's opening season was a huge success, and expansions of the park were quickly greenlit to ensure public interest remained in the attraction. In 1988, Wonderland received The Beach, a water park that operated seasonally and adjacent to Wonderland, where park guests could visit without purchasing another admission ticket. In 1989, the double-lift Ferris wheel, the Zodiac, was relocated to Wonderland from Kings Island. 1990 saw the opening of yet another park adjacent to Wonderland, the Australia Wildlife Park.
Nice.
The park was home to over 600 animals, including dingoes, kangaroos, koalas, goannas, penguins, and crocodiles, such as the homicidal Maniac.
Homicidal Maniac? There you go. He sounds friendly. No, that part would be really cool to see. I feel like for me, and basically that part of the park would be, on the contrary, really fun for international visitors and tourists, right? As locals might be much more familiar with these, be able to see them at different places or zoos or in the wild or whatever. And that part would be really cool as a
The park
visitor.
heavily leaned into Australian culture, most likely for the international tourists, offering activities such as boomerang throwing, whip cracking, and serving billy tea and damper. For all of the guests wanting to experience the outback without leaving the city, this was the perfect destination. In the early 90s, Australia's Wonderland and its parks blossomed with even more shows and attractions being added. The Blinky Bill show, based off of the famous Australian cartoon, was a hit with kids, and the Rock and Roll Wrestling show featured legendary wrestlers and gave families the opportunity to win a lunch with a wrestler of their choice. Rides like the Demon, a Vekoma boomerang coaster, and the Space Probe, a drop tower, were also added to the parks. And a new themed area named Transylvania was created. Wonderland was so popular among locals that weddings were even held in the park. In less than a decade, Wonderland had proven its naysayers wrong. Those who visited Wonderland had overwhelmingly positive experiences. Likewise, the park knew what guests wanted, and actively sought to provide fun, high-quality entertainment for the whole family. When Keko Entertainment was bought by Paramount in 1992, Wonderland was the only park out of the original 6 TAF parks to remain under local management, avoiding the era of painful intellectual property tie-ins that other parks such as Kings Island would experience.
Yeah, for the most part, I feel like when a park like this or just a fun attraction for visitors is under local management, I usually feel like that's a good sign. That's usually when things are at their best, not when some mega corporation that, in this case, might be based in a different country takes over. That's usually not a good thing.
The fun seemed like it would never end. But in 1997, As Maniac watched family after family pass his cage, each enjoying their vacation in Wonderland, he nor they realized that the park's days were already numbered.
So it sounds like through the mid-'80s, late 80s, and at least early 90s into mid-90s, park was doing really well, gaining momentum, and I'd say maybe the heyday was mid-90s. So that's pretty interesting. I think we're going to find out what happened here,
1997, the Malaysian-based Sunway Group acquired Australia's Wonderland. Sunway Group already owned theme parks around Malaysia, and it seemed as though it was poised to take Wonderland to the next level. Despite its popularity among locals, the park's ownership was having trouble breaking even with all of the expansions and operating costs, as the park now operated year-round instead of its initial seasonal schedule. After the change in management, it was speculated that even more expansion was on the horizon for Wonderland.
So remember, this is a big thing in business, especially when it comes to parks and attractions. Expansion on paper is a good thing, right? But, you know, there is such a thing as rapid expansion, and rapid expansion seems to be a toss-up. Sometimes it means you're doing really well, and sometimes it means like, whoa, hold up. Rapid expansion is going to bury this place. And that's what it sounds like might be the case here. I wonder how the schedule played into it, because again, on paper, which of course doesn't always translate to real world success, on paper I feel like opening year round would be a good thing. If someone wants to weigh in on why that wouldn't be a good thing, I'm all ears. I would think like maybe avid fans of this place being able to go more months per year would be awesome, but I don't know. It's also more expensive that way, so I do understand that.
Sunway Group would bring more rides, attractions, and possibly a full resort. The Sunway Group added the Skyrider attraction in 1997, changed the park's name to Wonderland Sydney to coordinate with the Olympics coming to the city in 2000, and brought properties from Marvel Comics and Cartoon Network to the park in 2002, which also brought a revamped welcome sign featuring Spider-Man and the Hulk. Popular Marvel characters now roam the parks, offering meet and greets and autographs, and a Powerpuff Girls live stage show with
that was a jacked Spider-Man. Hold up.
Now roam the parks, offering meet and greets and autographs.
Holy smokes, that Spider-Man is jacked.
Damn. Powerpuff Girls live stage
like
show was
slender,
added.
yeah?
However, it soon became apparent that Sunway Group had no interest in expanding the theme park further. In fact, the company even began inexplicably shutting down whole sections of the park, using odd excuses such as efficiency studies finding that the park was too big. Select rides were closed or removed altogether. The kid favorite coaster, the Beast...
Wait, how much sense does that make? They come in, buy the place in 97. By 2002, they've wanted to expand it so much, and then all of a sudden, whoop, flip the script. Now it's too big. Well, pick a side here. Which is it, right? That's kind of annoying. It's really annoying. Back to my original point, local management is a good thing, whereas once you have some mega corporate company buy it, well, then you run into these mega corporate BS excuses like that. Oh, well, we did some studies, and it's too big, and it's not efficient enough, and it's like, oh, geez.
Beastie sat dormant, to the dismay of the...
Beastie sat dormant. Like, what on earth? Why are they shutting down rides?
Rides were closed or removed altogether. The kid favorite coaster, the Beastie, sat dormant, to the dismay of the visiting children. Compared to the rapid expansion the park saw under Keko, this was a massive blow to the locals and fans. Park-goers were forced to watch their cherished local park crumble bit by bit before their eyes. In early 2004, after a slow, painful descent into disrepair, Sunway Group announced that they would be closing Wonderland Sydney. And on April 26, 2004, Wonderland Sydney closed its doors.
Wow.
It's really upset the Hulk. Captain America's staying brave.
Hang tough, troopers.
But no one cheers when a fun park dies.
I spent many days here, early mornings to late at night, with a lot of friends, had great times.
For 18 years, Wonderland Sydney has cheered up, frightened and exhilarated patrons with its Just for Fun theme. Today, park security was doing its best to keep the fun going for staff arriving for their last day on the job.
I'm feeling kind of lonely too, if you don't mind. Can I sit down here beside you?
Yeah.
A lot of people have said that it's going to be like a big thing gone out of their childhood.
Sold for more than $52 million, the fun park will be replaced with a business park.
Of course, bingo.
For 1 year, the park sat abandoned. Rides.
There we go. That's always the icing on the cake, right? Well, we're going to act really sketchy and give, like, you know, tiny made-up corporate excuses why stuff is disappearing, and then the bombshell. Hey, we're closed. By the way, we sold it for a big check. and now there's going to be a mall or a business park or, some new condos coming in. Congrats. Your childhood memories, they're gone.
Rides were removed seemingly without agenda or haste. As the months went on, various attractions such as Bounty's Revenge, the Great Balloon Race, Galleon's Graveyard, Little Monsters Flying School, and the Broken Hill Mill Games Arcade were all sold and moved off of the property. By June of 2004, the Bush Beast train cars would be sitting on top of the lift hill while other trains were removed from the ride. During the same month, the park was used by the soldiers of the Reserve Response Force as training grounds. The worst part of the way in which the Sunway Group handled the park's closing was its treatment, or lack thereof, of the animals in Australia Wildlife Park. While Maniac and a few others were relocated.
It does say in fine print, animal abuse allegations came from former park employees and has not been confirmed by local authorities, or the press. But so even though this is mostly speculation, not technically all provable,
many of the
look at the practices before it. That wouldn't surprise me.
The other animals were not. Due to this.
So wait, hold on. Let me watch this fluidly. I just wanted to read that fine print. That's this whole thing. Okay, hold on.
The soldiers of the Reserve Response Force as training grounds. The worst part of the way in which the Sunway Group handled the park's closing was its treatment, or lack thereof, of the animals in Australia Wildlife Park. While Maniac and a few others were relocated, many of the other animals were not. Due to this, former park employees began breaking into Wonderland Sydney to rescue the animals that had been forgotten. In 2005...
Wait, they just left? So they moved a couple select animals that he mentioned, and then the rest were just abandoned? They were abandoned inside of a park? Holy crap, that's insane. That is so wrong. Good on those brave employees for saying, hey, I got nothing to lose at this point. I'm breaking in and I'm saving these damn animals.
The demolition was halted and prolonged over an improper license
sick.
dispute the demolition company was in possession of. There was an incident in 2005 where a man fell from the defunct space probe ride and sustained back injuries, although it was unclear why he was up there or what he was doing. In August of 2005, the Bush Beast was finally ripped from the ground and demolished. The Marvel superhero-themed front gate was detached and sold for $1,000 to a junkyard in Londonderry, where it still remains to this day. Even after the quick descent and abrupt closure, the question on every local and every Wonderland fan's minds was, why? Why did this beloved park, in the height of its popularity, close its doors? Sunway Group did give a reason, multiple actually. The company's CEO listed the September 11th attacks, the 2002 Bali bombings, the collapse of HIH insurance, the SARS virus, the bird flu virus, consistent losses during the Asian financial crisis, the collapse of Ansett Australia, the Iraq War, and the 2003 bushfires as the reasoning for the park's closure.
Wow, that is quite the whirlwind of topics there. Wow, that's a lot of reasons. Holy crap. Okay. Whatever they say.
It was obvious to everyone else that it was the Sunway Group's lack of updates and poor management that sealed Wonderland's fate. They took a lucrative offer for the land beneath the park, selling it for over $50 million, a price similar to what they bought it for. And just like that, Wonderland's fate was sealed. Since the park's closure and demolition, there have been talks and proposals for reviving Wonderland. Florida-based David Backus, who is the operations manager of Walt Disney World, promised a new park in 2021 called World of Wonder. He has stated that he is currently devoted to developing Australia's largest theme park destination resort, the spiritual successor of Wonderland Sydney, the Western Sydney Theme Park Development Trust. In addition to the theme parks, the location would include a shopping center, a sports arena, and a convention center. Classics like the Bush Beast will inspire the revamped rides, made possible by cutting-edge technology. Hopefully the new project will be able to come to fruition, and maybe even capture some of the magic that Wonderland once did. Maniac the Crocodile still entertains guests today at Reptile Gardens.
No kidding.
Most of those that pass by his cage do not know the tragedy of Wonderland Sydney. What the Beast observed in his time at the park was a sight seen all too often. A park filled with fun and joy, a place where memories were made by millions, and a cultural landmark that made an imprint in its city. All of that killed by financial issues and corporate logistics brought about by companies barely making an attempt to manage a work of art that they don't fully understand. Even the homicidal crocodile might take issue with the death of Australia's Wonderland.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, that is always mind-blowing to me about business in general when we're talking about these big businesses, resorts, amusement parks. How can something go from such a local favorite, have such a good reputation, be a place where you can go on any given neighborhood and pick out you know, kids or families from that neighborhood, and most of them have been there. Maybe they have a tradition of going there. They have memories there. You know, how can something go from so popular and seemingly a safe place to have fun and basically doing everything right to just crumbling down within a few years? Of course, we know the answer is when it changed management, but it's just kind of mind-blowing, right? It's also embarrassing when these big corporations buy them and then they all talk like, oh, we're going to make this even bigger and we're going to expand and we're going to add this and do this. And they end up folding like 3 years later, 5 years later. It's like, I just don't get it. It's so weird to me. That was really interesting. I really did enjoy it. This was well done. We didn't even watch the whole thing, so please use that link down there to check out this whole video and definitely check their channel out. Great suggestion by Lithgow11. I really do appreciate that. I cannot wait to hear your comments on this. Please tell your stories, any facts or insight that you would like to add within the story of this park. And we're going to check right now what the status of this is. It looks like the old park is definitely way beyond demolished at this point because it's been almost 20 years. But it's interesting. This video is actually a few years old. It's interesting how they were aiming for 2021, which is a couple years ago now, to kind of do a new version of this. At least they hope to do. I'm going to check on that right now.
It's a new park in 2021 called World of Wonder.
Okay, World of Wonder was that new one. So let's check that out. Okay, so when you Google World of Wonder in Sydney, it just pulls up Wonderland Sydney, which was the previous park that's closed. Then it says, is Wonderland Sydney coming back? Worlds of Wonder is destined to propel Western Sydney to the nation's top theme park destination, knocking off the Gold Coast. The new project will resurrect Wonderland Sydney, has been earmarked for the completion by 2021 with this new location, blah, blah, blah. That's old. Obviously, whatever happened to this then? This is unrelated. This says, why doesn't Sydney have a theme park? But this is kind of mind-blowing. I didn't know this about resorts and theme parks and all these big things. This says, as we all know, a decent theme park or resort costs billions to create. Disneyland Paris, for example, cost 2 billion British pounds back in 1992 and only made a profit a couple of years ago. That is insane. I didn't realize we were talking like decades to make your money back on there. That's pretty crazy, actually. Okay, we do have a maybe some insight on parks.au here. These are random examples of parks that never got off the ground. Still waiting on Wonderland Sydney 2.0. Where is Disneyland Australia? Is that a thing? I didn't even know that was a thing. Maybe that's a topic for another video sometime. That sounds interesting because I've never looked. I don't know if Disneyland or Disney World is in Australia or not. I wouldn't have any idea. I know they have one. Obviously, Disney World is the big, awesome one in Florida. Disneyland is much smaller, but still okay. That's in California. And then, of course, like I think there's Disney Tokyo. There's Disney in France. I don't know if there's any other ones, but man, that's interesting. Let's see where that link was. Okay, let's see this one real quick. Sydney's Wonderland proposal. This is just a little proposal thing. And quite frankly, it doesn't really say much. Wow, so I guess it never happened. That's really weird. This kind of proposal at the end here didn't come to fruition yet. I would really like to know what ended up happening with that because that sounds promising, but I mean, doesn't everything always sound promising on paper? Anyway, that is very interesting. I do hope you enjoyed this. Maybe you learned something completely like I did here, or maybe this was a nice jog down memory lane for you. Either way, I would love to hear from you down below. Please throw a like on there if you did enjoy this and subscribe to be part of this amazing community we do have here. That being said, y'all, my name is Ian. You're watching IWrocker. Until next time, we'll catch you later.